Alright, what's up guys? I am not going to be here for your hour today. I've got a funeral to go to. It's not my favorite thing to talk about, but I had a former player, pass away, so I'm going to be attending that funeral. So I'm just covering some stuff here for you guys that we need to talk about as far as what we missed over the break. Okay, so welcome back. I know most of you guys probably did some snow stuff, like pulled around some sleds, did some different things. We did that. I've got a couple of pictures I might show you here when I get back. We built the snowman, pulled each other around on some sleds, had some good times, but it's time to get back to work, and that's what sucks about being where we were at the time that we got out of school for the snow stuff. We were right in the middle of a test and then an essay, so that stinks, because we've had 5 days to forget all that stuff. And some of you guys, I mean, thank you for keeping up with what you're supposed to keep up with and doing your work, but some of you maybe didn't have the opportunity to do that, and it's hard to write an essay on a phone. So we're going to push a couple of due dates back. The essay is going to be due on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, and then the test, you should have some time to take that in class today. Okay, so let's talk about this essay real quick. Okay, so on the essay question, I did post a video, and you can still look at that if you want to. This second half night essay, it's like 9 minutes and 48 seconds. So you have like this video, and then you'll have your video over that to look at too if you want to. But I'm going to talk about it a little bit on this, so that you don't have to actually watch both of them. But if you want to get just the second half night essay, I did post that over the break to cover that stuff. Okay, but on our essay question, okay, what we're trying to do here, okay, we I think finished up, okay, the first three things here, okay, with the topic sentence, the quote and the evidence, the commentary, all that from the first quote. We were trying to come up with these two different, okay, meanings of night and how they make the book appropriately titled. Okay, so we've got our topic sentence here. The book Night by Elie Wiesel is appropriately titled because of Wiesel's literal and symbolic meanings of the word used throughout his book. That was our topic sentence. You can use that one, copy and paste it, it's fine. That's what we came up with together in class. Okay, the quote, okay, I'm gonna switch gears here real quick and show you the quote that we have. I'm kind of in some different stuff here. Okay, so I just said question book. So what we came up with for that, okay, never shall I forget that night, the first night in the camp, that turned my life into one long night, 7 times sealed. Okay, that was from page 34, so we've got that parenthetical stuff there at the end, just telling where that came from. Okay, and then our commentary, okay, that's our quote showing the literal definition of how he's using night. In our commentary, we tell the reader that. Okay, so this shows Elie's literal usage of the word on how his first night in camp went. Okay, our transition, the next thing in there, okay, this is kind of what I call the second introduction, as well as the literal usage of night. We've got the symbolic meaning that we have to talk about too. That's what the second quote is going to be about. Okay, so I've literally got that there for you. Okay, as well as the literal usage of night. Wiesel, that's the author's name, also uses symbolic meanings of the word in his book. Okay, and then I'm going to give the quote where he does that. Okay, you can pick whatever you want, like as long as it comes from the book and he's using the word night. If you think it's symbolic of something, you can't get that wrong as long as you explain it and how it is in that commentary. Okay, so for us in this, okay, never shall I forget that night, we can actually use this same quote for the symbolic meaning. Okay, and I'm gonna take a picture of this real quick so we can go over that. So think about this, okay, right here, he's talking about that first night in the camp, all right? So if we wanted to reuse the same quote, we could do that. We could find another one if we wanted to, okay? But the second time that he talks about it here, this one long night, 7 times sealed, okay? That's just one long, he's talking about the whole time he's in the camp, the whole time he's in the Holocaust, okay? That it seemed like it was just one long night. Okay, so the symbolism of night in this, okay, he's talking about this one long night that never ended. He's using night as something that people don't like. I mean, we're afraid of the dark. Night is kind of symbolic of evil in that sense, that it's this one long night. It seemed like he was in a dream. Maybe you could go a couple of different ways with that. Okay, so you could use this same quote, is what I'm saying here, for both the evidence for your literal definition, and then the second part here, if you wanted to, you could use the same quote and you could say that, okay, in the second where it's being put in here on this E. Okay, so once I've given that, I just have to make it make sense with this commentary here, and that's really it. Okay, that's really it. So when I do that, okay, I have been giving you guys kind of my commentary verbally here, but that's what you're doing there with the commentary. You're just making sense of how that is symbolic usage of that word night. Okay, now when we're finished with all of the commentary and all that stuff, okay, then we have the last part of what we're being asked to do here, which is the closing. Okay, so the closing here, it's a lot like the topic sentence. Okay, remember when I talked about how things are kind of mirrored in an essay or in a paragraph? What I say up here, I'm going to repeat down here. Okay, and it kind of blends in the middle. Okay, so our body stuff, all the information, okay, kind of comes from the middle part of that. But when we introduce something, we're talking about our main objective here, which is describing how the book is appropriately titled. Okay, but I started off talking about the author appropriately titling the book, and that's what I'm going to end with in this closing statement. Okay, so I've got to look at my topic sentence, okay, and then redress that in a way to where I'm kind of flipping it upside down. Okay, so what I mean by that is I've still got to redress the prompt, which is what we want to do repetitively. That's why we do the writing stuff the way we do it. It's because we're repeating what we first hear, and then what we hear last, which is what most people tie into memory. Okay, the first thing that you hear and then the last thing that you hear, okay, in any kind of speech, or really even when we read this, we're reading this. Okay, but the first thing you see and then the last thing that you see are what's really tied into memory. That's why we make sure that we tie it into the actual part of the writing that we're really trying to get across, which is what we're asked to do, describe how the book is appropriately titled. So in this, okay, I started off with the book Night by Elie Wiesel is appropriately titled because of his literal and symbolic meanings. I'm going to work my way into that, okay, after I summarize the commentary that I have about my quotes that I've given. Okay, so excuse me, we're repeating ourselves twice here. Okay, so I repeat my summary, okay, of my excuse me, of my commentary, okay, and then I get back into my I get back into my title sentence or my topic sentence. Okay, so example of that, okay, I'm gonna have to remember, okay, what I wrote in my commentary in these two things. I don't have that on this particular sheet, so I'm just gonna kind of write some notes in here. Okay, so my first commentary, this is how, okay, it was just his first night in the camp. Okay, that was his first thing that he said about night. In my second, okay, here, remember I'm using the same quote, all right? He talked about one long night. And I'm just putting that there to show that I've got to talk about those two things, okay, as my summary of my main point. So I'm gonna start with that in my closing here, okay? So again, this is just an example. You don't have to write exactly these words. You could have picked a different quote, all that stuff. I'm just kind of trying to show you the process and how this works. Okay, so I'm summarizing my commentary, so I have to talk about the first night, how he uses it there literally, okay, and then in his symbolic way, he talked about it being one long night. Okay, so in Wiesel's depiction of night in the literal sense and symbolically. He told us about his first night camp and how his night seemingly never ended. Symbolic. Oh, I've already got that. Okay, so I've got my that's my summary here. So in Wiesel's depiction of night in the literal sense and symbolically, he told us about his first night in the camp and then how his night seemingly never ended. This shows how the book is appropriately titled because Ellie uses the word to show us his journey through the Holocaust. Boom, finished it. Okay, so I worked back into book appropriately titled at the end. I've got my summary here. I did what I needed to do. Now, could you word that 15 million different ways? Yep. Are any of them right? All of them are if you do your job. Okay, so let's talk about like some of the questions I usually get from this stuff. I'm just trying to anticipate some of yours. How many sentences does this need to be? Well, there are 7 different points that I have to cover in this. So 7 would be good. What if I write more than one sentence, just like I did here for my closing? For one of those steps, it could be more. Okay, so I would say you could probably write anywhere from 4 to 12 in this. If you write a bunch of big, long, like compound, complex sentences, you could get this done in about 4. Okay, so you start off with your 7. Okay, 7. Okay, let's say that I put my I put my transition sentence in one of those other sentences. There's 6. Okay, let's say that my quote and evidence and my commentary is the same sentence on both of those. Okay, you could do that. That's 4. That's probably about the minimum. Okay, the maximum I would say somewhere in the realm of 12ish, somewhere in there. If my topic sentence is really long, it could be. I could have 2 for that one. Okay, if I got my quote and evidence is 1, my commentary is 1, my transition I use a whole sentence for that one. My quote and evidence is 1, my commentary is another one, and then maybe I got a couple for my closing statement. That's in that 9 to 10, realm there. Okay, as long as you get all of those 7 things check marked, we're good. Okay, so that's what we're really trying to do here. All right, so that's why I wanted you guys to write each thing in these different slots to make sure that you got it. Okay, the step that you have after you filled in all those things in that outline, now you write everything out in a paragraph down below. Use the same document, just copy and paste that stuff, okay, to be one actual paragraph. Okay, the thing that I want to read is what you got here put together as your paragraph. Now, if you did it all in sentence format, just like this, you probably already got it done. But if you've got some notes here instead of some actual sentences, like I have here with my first night in the camp and then the one long night thing down there with my commentary, when you write it in your sentences in the paragraph, you need to expound upon those ideas and make sure it's in sentence format that explains the whole idea, not just your notes. Okay, however you did that, if you went step by step, kind of how we did the document in the first couple of days, you're fine. Okay, just make sure that you check all of those things that you have: your topic sentence, your quote, your commentary, your transition, your quote, your commentary, and your closing statement. If you got all 7 of those things, that's what we're looking for. Okay, not taking off a ton of stuff unless it's just really, really horrendous. Okay, if you don't capitalize the first letter of the first word of each sentence, if you don't capitalize people's names, if you don't underline the book title, not a huge deal, but if you do those things repetitively over and over again, I probably will take some grammar stuff off of that, but that's not really what we're trying to get to here. Okay, we're really trying to get into, do you know the process of writing, okay, an informative essay just like this one, using material from the book. Okay, all right. If you guys have questions, I'll be here tomorrow. It's no big deal. Okay, but I wanted you to have, some instruction on how to do that today. Okay, so finish up that essay. It's going to be due tomorrow. You'll have a little bit of time to work on it, but we're going to start with our short story unit tomorrow too. Okay, all right, switching gears over to the test. All right, that is the night essay question. Make sure you get that turned in. On the test, a lot of you guys already did this. That's awesome. Okay, but there's several of you that didn't. So you just click on that link. It is literally just the multiple choice, okay, version of our study guides. The first question is from chapter 1, the first literal question from chapter 1 study guide. The last question, okay, is from the chapter 9 study guide. It's the last question asked on the chapter 9 study guide, the end of the book. And I put those in sequence so it didn't, get confusing on like, well, I don't know if that happened in chapter 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever. It's in order. Okay, just how it was from your study guides. I just didn't put all the questions in there from the study guides. I kind of picked and chose which ones went in there. Okay, so there's 40 of them. It's multiple choice. Never fail an online test. Okay, it's literally your study guide. It's just put in multiple choice format instead of you guys filling in the blank and writing sentences. Okay, so do that. This is going to be due today. Okay, so get this done today. The essay, changing the due date to it. Okay, Tuesday, which is tomorrow. We'll have a little bit of time with that. Work on those things. I know some of you guys already did all this stuff, and man, I'm really proud of you. Great job. If some of the stuff that I just went over here kind of helped you, like, oh, I need to change that, I need to make sure, use your extra time. Okay, use your extra time to go back, look at that essay, make sure you did all those things, kind of clean it up a little bit, and then revise. Okay, tomorrow we will have encore. Actually, no, Wednesday we'll have encore with you guys, your 3rd hour. So if you need to retake if you bomb this test, okay, well, you can retake it. It is a test. You'll have a qualifier for that, but we can do that on Wednesday. Any of those other quizzes, we'll wait till Wednesday to retake those. So if you want to study for those, we'll have qualifiers for those too. But your grammar quizzes, this test, really, really big stuff, but you don't get to redo the essay question. So make sure that you have it turned in by tomorrow. Does that have to be perfect? No. Okay, but you need to have it turned in by tomorrow. It's 50 test points. It's the biggest grade we've had so far. Besides the final, okay, which it's 20% of your whole grade. This is just one test, which is a part of it. It's probably pretty close to as much as what the final is worth. Okay, so it's almost a pass or fail thing. If you get a 0 on this, it's going to be hard for you guys to pass. Okay, and I know some of you guys are kind of nervous about writing and all that stuff, but just turn something in and check those boxes. It doesn't have to be the most, Pulitzer Prize winning stuff, okay, that you've ever written. Okay, but it just needs to check all those boxes, all the things that we, talked about in that outline. Good? All right, see you guys tomorrow.